Salams and welcome. This is part number 19 or part number 1. Let's start with part number 1 of this Ansari series with a lecture by Dr. Maulana Fazl Rahman Ansari in 1972 at a multicultural audience. This was during the days of apartheid in South Africa, but the talk that he gives, alhamdulillah, it's relevant what he gave it in the 1970s as it is today. But let's listen to what he's got to say, and this timeless teachings becomes as relevant what it was then as it is relevant today, and gives us a lot of room for thinking and pause for pondering. So let's join Dr. Maulana Fazl Rahman as he gives us some of his words of wisdom, alhamdulillah. Let's start with that. It's quite a long lecture, so I'll do it in a few episodes, inshallah. So let's use this as part number 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, may God bless you all with the spirit of truth, justice and beauty. I must say at the very outset how honored I feel at this very warm farewell welcome to me, I might say, by an audience which is multiracial and it is an audience which I think that if those who live outside South Africa, if they were to see this audience in this manner, much of that prejudice which is there against South Africa will not be there anymore. I thank all of you, and I especially thank the government of South Africa, especially the Department of the Interior, for their kindness and graciousness in allowing me to come to their country and to enjoy the hospitality from every section of the various communities here in this country. My friends, remarks on different problems have been made by the chairman, and observations have been made by the speakers who came after him. And I feel that the gist of all these remarks and observations is that humanity nowadays, in a sort of travail, it is in trouble. References were made to Vietnam, to the Middle East, and to other parts of the world.
I'm just going to pause there. Now, in the 1972, when Dr. Maulana Fazl Rahman gave this talk, the war of Vietnam was still going on, and we're seeing a lot of parallels today. And we know that the war of Vietnam was from 1955, and it only ended in 1975, 3 years after the lecture given by Dr. Rahman. And the war of Vietnam, and recently when we know the war in Afghanistan, the fall of Saigon in Vietnam brought back memories, and the fall of Kabul in Afghanistan, in the same way that America had to suddenly leave Vietnam, and America had to leave Afghanistan. And people are wondering what was then the basis or the rationale for having this war and the senseless killing of so many millions of people. And similarly, there was a problem in the Middle East then in the 70s, and now there's still also once again a problem in the Middle East today, and there's also a problem in war. Now the Vietnam War, just to remind ourselves, was a proxy war. There was North Vietnam and South Vietnam. North Vietnam was supported by Russia and China. South Vietnam was supported by America. So Vietnam became the proxy site where America and Russia were fighting. In today's time, we have the same thing happening in Ukraine. And we have Ukraine is supported by America and NATO, and America and NATO are fighting Russia. Similarly, in the Middle East, in Palestine, the the proxy war is between America and UK, Britain, and their allies against Iran and Russia. So, and Syria, the same thing is happening. Proxy wars are being fought in these lands, whereas innocent people are being devastated. And in addition to the genocide caused by many of the wars, a new concept was formulated in Vietnam because America dropped millions of barrels of poison toxic Agent Orange to destroy the mangrove forests in Saigon. About 20 to 30% of the forest land was destroyed because these were agricultural communities. And up to today, there's side effects of this Agent Orange, a toxic gas, and people are still getting birth deformities and disabilities in Vietnam as a result of the war in Vietnam. So let's continue listening to his lecture. That is just a bit of a brief background.
Where human beings are trying to ill-treat their fellow beings, and a sort of complaint was made that this thing is happening. I think this, what we see today, has been happening in human history all the time. Of course, on some occasions, it has been in a smaller measure. On other occasions, it has been in a larger measure. It is the tragedy of mankind that although human beings are capable of rising to great heights, intellectually and morally and spiritually and socially, they are also capable of going to the lowest depths. It all depends upon their outlook. And so far as the problem of this outlook is concerned, this fact, of course, should be emphasized, that while the previous ages of human history were ages of faith, the present age is definitely the age of doubt. It is the age of doubt. It is the age of questioning everything in which humanity has believed. It is the age of skepticism. And I might even say that it is an age in which the worship of God is also undertaken by those who worship Him, by most of them in a manner which may not be considered to be very genuine. The worship as it is being done nowadays and undertaken nowadays, I find that it is mostly formal. It is something which cannot be called a spiritual exercise, an exercise in trying to commune with God, an exercise in trying to come into contact with God and to have a direct experience of God.
Okay, we'll pause there for today's episode. I'm just doing this in small bite-sized chunks so that the Gen Z can have a grasp of it, because if the lecture is very long, then sometimes we lose focus. So join me in the next session as we look at the next part. So I'll use this as a part of the Ansari series. So this is part number 19. Join me for part number 20. So we're ending this program where we're saying that religion has just become very, very ritual and formalistic, and we are losing the very spirituality of religion, which is basically the communion with the Creator Supreme. Stay well, look after yourself. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.